Zoom, and we also have people watching this on YouTube. We are admitting people into the meeting if you're on the Zoom platform, and just give us a minute or two and we will get started shortly. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We will give people a chance to get their YouTube going and to log into the Zoom, and we will start in about a minute or so. Thank you so much. Good evening. We're going to start in about 30 more seconds. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our meeting this evening. This evening, we will discuss the track replacement phase 4 project, which we call internally the Canterbury Junction Diamond Crossover. I am Erica Pines. I am in External Affairs and I manage the Stakeholder and Public Engagement Division of External Affairs. We are joined tonight also by Robert Murphy and Kelly Davis. They are the project managers on this very important project, and they work in our capital programs delivery section. We also have joining us this evening our Deputy Chief of Bus Operations, Mr. Santiago Osario, and our Chief of Customer Experience, Ms. Rhonda Allen, and they will be available towards the end of this meeting to answer any questions. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. We do have some tips for our virtual meeting this evening. All of your mics, if you are joining us via Zoom, your microphones have been muted to avoid background noise. And I also want to welcome those who are joining us by phone. Welcome. Your microphone is also muted. We ask that you use the Q&A feature for comments and questions. If you're on the Zoom, if you can go ahead and familiarize yourself with the Q&A button, that's where we would like you to put the questions and comments. There's also a chat feature that we will not be monitoring for questions and comments. So if you do have a question that you would like us to try to address this evening, please place those in the Q&A section. If you can familiarize with yourself with those buttons now, that will be great. If you are on the YouTube, please drop questions in the YouTube comments. We do have people monitoring the comments in YouTube, and we will also drop a survey link that I'll talk to you about in a second. But just please use the Q&A section on Zoom and use the comment section on YouTube for questions that you would like addressed towards the end of this presentation. If you have additional comments and questions after this meeting, please email publichearinginfo@itsmarta.com. That's publichearinginfo@itsmarta.com. If you have questions unrelated to this project, please contact our customer service division at custserve@itsmarta.com. That's CUSTSERV@itsmarta.com. It is very important for you to email customer service with those questions so that we can track those questions and get them logged into our system to allow for adequate follow-up. We will, at the end of this meeting, address as many comments and questions as time allows. Thank you. So tonight, the agenda will flow as follows. I just did the introduction. You're going to receive a presentation on what we call the TR4 overview. We're going to give you a presentation on the Canterbury suspension. We're going to talk about the customer impacts and how we are mitigating those impacts. And we're also going to discuss our public engagement and marketing efforts. Towards the end, we're going to ask a polling question of you that we will have the polling question in the Zoom, and we'll also post the link in the YouTube comments for those who are viewing this through YouTube. And if you're on the phone, if you could email us your answers to these questions, that would be great. That email again is publichearinginfo@itsmarta.com. And then we'll go into a trivia. So it's very important that you take notes during this presentation, because we're going to have a trivia to test your listening skills towards the end of this. And then we'll move into a Q&A, and we'll have closing remarks, and we should be wrapped up by 7:30 as promised. Thank you. So today we're going to discuss this very robust and unprecedented program of capital investments that we call the MARTA 2040. We call MARTA 2040. We hope to enhance our customer experience in such a dynamic way by the year 2040. And to enhance that experience for this MARTA 2040 program, we are making improvements throughout the system, which will increase connectivity, mobility, and accessibility. We will also complete a state of good repair projects. We will restore the authority's existing assets. We will ensure a system-wide safety. We will continue to ensure system-wide safety. And this is done to enhance the overall customer experience. We are also doing track renovations, tunnel ventilation system modernizations, auxiliary power system upgrades, and automatic train control system upgrades. You may have heard last year we had a big announcement that we have procured a new fleet of rail cars. We are overhauling all of our escalators and elevators, and these renovations will be done in all of our 38 stations throughout the system. So our customers will experience enhanced improvements in all 38 stations. We will be doing renovations in those stations. Some stations, the renovations will be more robust than others, but you will see great improvements throughout the system. And with that being said, now I'm going to turn it over. I think we skipped the slide. Thank you. Now I'm going to turn it over to Robert Murphy in our capital projects, from our project manager. And Robert, you can take it from here. Thank you. Robert, you may be muted.
Erica, thank you so much for this opportunity to come and share the project with you. As Erica previously mentioned, I'm Robert Murphy, and I serve as the project manager for the 4th phase of MARTA track replacement program. So you may hear me refer to it as TR4 during the presentation. MARTA is planning for the future of our system with a $225 million investment in heavy rail. This effort will renovate, repair, and restore nearly 36 miles of heavy rail lines while enhancing the system's safety, efficiency, and longevity. As with any project, different phases of the program may include various levels of service impacts to our customers and neighboring communities. Next slide, please. As you see on the graphic above, the track replacement program is a 7-year effort that is comprised of 5 major components, including 190,000 linear feet of new rail, 26,000 new concrete ties on the main line and storage yards, 100,000 direct fixation fasteners system-wide, 29 new bumping post installations, and 65 turnouts system-wide. Now, if you don't know what all that means, I'm sorry, yes, stay right there. If you don't know what all that means, simply stated, we're doing a lot of work to make sure your trip on MARTA heavy rail system is safe and that you can rest assured that our rail lines are well maintained. Single tracking slide, say right here. MARTA is always working to maintain the system in state of good repair. One of the ways to accomplish this is through single tracking. Not to be too technical, but single tracking is exactly how it sounds. All trains share one single track, so needed maintenance and repairs can be safely performed on the other track. Single tracking helps us to minimize the overall impacts to our customers, and when possible, we try to single track during non-peak and weekend hours. However, some major repairs, which we will be mentioning in a moment, involve a crossover, which prohibits us from implementing single tracking to repair the track. Now we want to share a little video that shows you a little bit more about our single tracking efforts. Video, please. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, as I mentioned, this work first started in 2019. And since that time, we've already completed a number of projects, which includes switch steel replacement, crossover replacement, and running rail replacement. Next slide, please. Now we'll spend a little time discussing a major project that is just around the corner, our Canterbury Junction Diamond crossover. We will show a brief overview video of Canterbury Junction Diamond, and then you will hear from Ms. Kelly Davis, who is also spearheading this effort as a project manager.
Give me one second before we start the video. On the YouTube, they weren't seeing the presentation. So if someone could drop the video link into the YouTube from the first video, that would be great. I think this one is now up. Thank you.
We have steel wheels on our train, and when you get that steel wheel making contact with the steel rails, the steel wears out. After so many years, it has to be replaced to maintain that safe and quality ride.
So this is what's called a switch. At these switch points, these are the only places that we are able to move the trains from one track to the other. That's why the maintenance and upkeep of these is critical to the upkeep of our system. The switches have been in service for 30 plus years, and they are at the end of life.
We will actually cut out the old rail.
We remove the ties, then we take down 2 inches of the ballast. The ballast is the rock that the rail sits on, and then we come back through and we put everything back. So it takes a long time because it's a lot of rail. Generally, these areas go from 200 to 300 feet in length, So we are replacing all of the rail and all of the timber ties. The track behind me, as you see, is out of service. So in this area, we are able to what's called single track. We're able to keep one track in service. We do have other areas on the system where we're not able to do that. We have some diamond crossovers, and when we replace those crossovers, we will have to do what's called a complete shutdown. The diamond crossover is exactly what it looks like. It's a big X. It touches both tracks. So when we replace that, you have to take out the whole thing at one time. So when you do that, you are taking out both tracks. We are not able to single track in those time periods. Right now we're going through Canterbury Junction, which is where our red and gold line split. It is one of our most used areas of the system. So when we replace the diamond crossover at the Canterbury Junction, because both tracks will be out of service, we will be using a bus bridge to move our patrons from station to station. The buses will be running in a continuous loop from Lindbergh Station to Buckhead Station to Lenox Station, back to Buckhead Station and back to Lindbergh. Now we will have to interrupt service for several days, but the major benefit is that when we're done, the trains can move through the area a lot faster.
We're making the ride quality better, and we're making it safer for our passengers to keep our system functioning properly and safely.
Well, hey again, everybody. My name is Kelly Davis, and you just saw me on the previous video. And I am one of the project managers for the Canterbury Junction diamond crossover replacement efforts that are taking place in the first quarter of 2021. So everybody needs to mark your calendars, and please note that you will experience major service impacts beginning the evening of February 16th at 9 p.m. and they will conclude at 4 a.m. on February 22nd. Because this is a double or diamond crossover, as you saw in the video, we will not be able to implement single tracking while the major components of the track replacement takes place. This diamond crossover work will require a partial system shutdown on the days I just mentioned. As you will see animated on the screen, three of our stations will be directly impacted by the track replacement. Those stations are Buckhead, Lenox, and Lindbergh Center. All impacted stations will remain open and accessible to our customers. I will say that this replacement does not mean you can't ride MARTA rail system. Customers traveling east and westbound will experience no impacts to their trips. If you are entering Buckhead or Lenox stations, you will be able to take the train northbound, and customers entering Lindbergh Center Station will still be able to take the train southbound. And at each of our impacted stations, MARTA customers will be provided free station-to-station bus shuttle service to continue their trips between Buckhead, Lenox, and Lindbergh Center stations. So if you've never experienced a MARTA bus ride, you're in luck.
Go back a slide, I think, right?
Yeah, one more. Before I leave this slide, I would like to point out that there will be intermittent weekend single tracking after February 22nd as we complete the work in the Canterbury Junction area. Next slide, please. Now, we do know that these efforts will impact our customers. So we have planning ways to reduce the inconvenience for those traveling from February 16th through the 22nd. As I just mentioned, we will have shuttle buses running throughout the day to ensure that all of our rail customers can continue the ride to their final destinations. Station agents, transit ambassadors, and bright directional signage will also be located at the impacted stations and major trip origination points to help redirect riders to the shuttle service. Next slide, please. Our continuous bus shuttle service will connect MARTA riders with a convenient option to continue their trip at no additional cost during general service hours. The bus shuttle will provide continuous service from Buckhead, Lenox, and Lindbergh Center rail stations. I just want to point out again that the bus shuttles are free to our customers and will be operational during service hours. MARTA Connect, a partnership we've entered into with Uber, will also be available to customers during this project. MARTA will provide a $10 Uber voucher that customers can download to their Uber app and use twice daily to travel to or from Buckhead, Lenox, or Lindbergh Center stations. The MARTA Connect details are available at itsmarta.com. Next slide, please. So before I pass this back to Ms. Pines, I did want to leave everyone with a few top of mind items. Now, I know it may seem repetitive, but these notes and reminders are very important. You need to be sure to please add 30 minutes to your total trip time if you are traveling between February 16th and February 22nd. Discounted Uber rides will be available through MARTA Connect, so be sure to visit itsmarta.com to get that details about the voucher program. And lastly, please follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @MARTAService. We will be providing real-time updates and announcements. So thank you very much.
Unmute Erica.
Oops, sorry about that. Thank you. Now I want to talk to you about the impacts of this diamond crossover work. As Kelly and Robert noted, the work will be performed 24 hours a day from February 16th to February 22nd. So we'll start the evening of February 16th and you should be back in service the morning of February 22nd because we should end that work early AM. Neighboring communities may also experience the following disruptions. So in addition to some of the delays that you may experience as a rider, we are aware that the neighboring communities may experience noise from train alert horns, from rail cutting, heavy equipment, and from vehicles moving in and out of the work site. And the neighboring communities may also experience bright lights. In order to engage our customers and to do outreach and to let everyone know about this work, we've implemented several marketing and public engagement strategies to inform our customers and our regional stakeholders about the partial system suspension. Our engagement elements have included 2 public meetings. We have one this evening. We will have another one on Saturday. So if you know someone who needs to join this meeting on Saturday, we will have a meeting on Saturday. And we will have station engagement and outreach activities. And that engagement will also include engagement with those who use our parking rides. We will be leafleting the cars through across several days at different times in all 22 of our stations that offer parking. We are also doing outreach in those neighborhoods that may experience disruptions or noise or kind of some some discomfort. We will be placing door hangers on the doors in those neighborhoods. We'll be placing posters in the businesses in affected communities. And we've also emailed stakeholder toolkits to our elected officials and businesses. And as you can see to the right, we have very bright and robust literature that we're using for this campaign. You've probably heard about this on Nextdoor or our social media, but we will have continuous engagement on these impacts throughout the course of the project work. In an effort to make sure that we're engaging with all communities, we have coordinated with our Diversity and Inclusion Department to ensure compliance with Title VI and ADA requirements. We're making sure that we provide information for individuals with disabilities and limited English proficiency. And we've also posted non-PDF documents to itsmarta.com to assure accessibility to LEP communities, and all of our materials are available in Braille if needed. So now it's time for our trivia, but before we start our trivia, I just want to ask a polling question. If you're watching on YouTube, we should drop the first question in the YouTube. The first question I want to ask you is, how did you hear about the meeting? If you're joining us from Zoom, if you could please answer that question. And let's give them a second to answer that question before we show the results. Thanks. Okay. So looking at the results, it looks like most people heard about this on Nextdoor and an email from MARTA. That's good to hear because we implemented our Nextdoor last summer. So we're happy to know that we're getting some engagement with that. I was still talking to the slide, to the poll. Okay, we'll go to the next poll. The next questions are going to be, what are the dates and times of the partial system shutdown? What 3 stations will be most impacted, and how will customers travel between Buckhead, Lenox, and Lindbergh Station? I'm going to ask those again before we populate it for those who are listening on the phone. Those questions are, what are the dates and times of the partial system shutdown? What 3 stations will be most impacted, and how will customers travel between Buckhead, Lenox, and Lindbergh City Station? If you're taking a poll on the Zoom, there's a scroll button to the right that you can scroll up and down to see the questions. And let's give everybody a moment to answer those questions, and drop the link in the YouTube chat, please. Thank you. So we are testing your knowledge here. All right, if we want to show the poll. Okay, a lot of people got it correct, 89%. For those of you who did not get it correct, this station impact will happen from the evening of February 16th through the early AM mornings on February 22nd. And for the station impacts, 100% of you got that correct. I think it was because we made those questions a little easy. We put Buckhead in one of them. But so we have Buckhead, Lenox, and Lindbergh Center. For Saturday, we may shake that up a little bit to kind of throw you guys off. But and then how will customers travel between Buckhead, Lenox, and Lindbergh Station? We have bus shuttle service, which is correct. MARTA Connect, no one chose MARTA Connect, so I'm going to have Rhonda just quickly come in. She's not prepared for this, but because no one chose MARTA Connect, I think we need to describe that program a little more. And then both was 46%. But I guess the people that didn't choose MARTA Connect may have chosen both. But I'll just have Rhonda, if you don't mind, Rhonda, really quick, just come in and talk to us about the MARTA Connect program. Thank you.
Sure. MARTA Connect, again, is a partnership between MARTA and Uber, which allows us to, our customers to have an alternative service, transportation alternative when we have major service disruptions. So during this period of time, any individual who is traveling either to one of those impacted stations, those 3 stations, Buckhead, Lenox, or Lindbergh Center, or from one of those 3 stations, to anywhere you need to go, can download a voucher that is valued at $10, a maximum of $10. And so MARTA will subsidize your trip up to $10. And you can use, again, your Uber account in order to make your trip if you choose not to use the shuttle service. So those of you who picked both, your answer was, yeah, partially correct. You have that alternative to either use the shuttle service or the MARTA Connect service.
Thank you. And we're really excited about the Uber partnership. We actually used that partnership during the last election cycle to get people to voting locations that our buses then serve. So thank you, Rhonda, for that. And thank you for making that partnership happen. Congratulations to everyone for taking that poll. It shows that you guys were paying attention, and that was the purpose of this meeting. We want to make sure that our customers and our stakeholders are well informed of this very important work that we're about to embark upon. I'm going to ask questions. Before we get to our Q&A section, I just want to go over a couple of more things. If you have questions about this project, please email those to publichearinginfo@itsmarta.com. If you have non-project related questions, we would like for you to call those into our customer service center at 404-848-5000 or email those to custserve@itsmarta.com. And just know that our hours of operation are Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we will try to get back to you within that time frame for the questions we can't get to tonight. And to request this presentation or this information in another language, or if you want it in a more accessible format such as Braille, please call 404-848-4037. And now I'll go to the questions. One of the first questions we have is, in the second video, you guys were talking about how you take out 2 inches of the rock. Does that leave the area permanently, or does it get put back in? I'm going to have either Kelly or Robert address that question. Thanks.
I'll take this one. We put the ballast back. We take out 2 inches and put fresh rock back in so the new ties can sit on that.
Thank you. Another question. If I travel from Medical Center to Kensington, will I be charged $2.50 or $5 because I have to use the shuttle buses? I'm going to have Mr. Osario address that question.
So if your trip is expected to continue beyond Limber, going northbound, or if you're coming from North Spring and ends at Buckhead to continue south, then the fare will be a one-time charge, and you will not be required to tap when you exit the train to board our shuttle services. Neither you will be required to tap while you're riding our bus or when you exit to board the continuing train. So it will be one fare.
Erica?
I got you. I saw it. As soon as I start talking, the Zoom is like, you are muted. Thank you. Okay. Thank y'all. Another question. Can I still use the train on February 16th from 5:30 a.m. to 2:20 p.m. from North Springs to North Avenue? And it's saying I work at Georgia Tech.
Yes, you will be able to use the trains up until 9 o'clock. There will be no disruption of service prior to 9 o'clock on the 16th.
Thank you. This question is, how often will the bus leave Lenox Station? What times are the buses available? Mr. Osario?
So I'm going to answer the first question. The bus will have a continuous shuttle service. That means that there will be times that there will be 2-3 buses departing together because of the amount of riders that gets off from the train. But at any given time, if there is a gap in service from the train and there is no passenger movements, buses will depart stations in between 10 to 12 minutes, intervals. So that will be sort of the frequency where the buses will run. But during rush hours, we expect vehicles to be running sometimes in a frequency of 5 minutes, depending on the amount of riders exiting the train and boarding our buses. The second question to answer is the buses will be available for the duration of the time that the service starts in the morning to the time that the service ends in at night.
Thank you for that. And while I have you, Mr. Osario, we have a question asking what buses will be used for the bus shuttle.
So if I understand the question correctly, probably they're asking if it's a transit fixed, it's a 40-foot transit regular bus fixed route. We would not be using articulated buses, which is the ones with the accordion in the middle. We would just use the regular 40-footer fixed route buses.
Okay, thank you so much. This question, I don't know, I'll just ask it. Will Path 400 still be open during the shutdown? I guess because it's near the impacted area. Robert or Kelly, do you want to answer that? Or can you answer that?
I'll take it. Yes, 400 will still be accessible.
Okay, Path 400. Okay.
Eric, I want to add something to the question before that, if you don't mind.
Yes, sure.
So so I also failed to mention that we will have L vans, which is our mobility vans, available for customers with disabilities that will probably need to transfer between stations. So we will have that supporting number of vehicles at the station as well.
Yes, thank you for that very important information. Thank you for that.
Yeah, Erica, I would like to make sure I understood that question correctly, because you said path. Is that the walking path on 400?
Yes, I think that's what they're referring to.
Okay, so I answered that not totally correct. The path at 400 is an area up there where the contractor is going to be using to store a lot of his materials that we're using for the Canterbury storage area. So not that we're closing it, but we will like to try to make sure that it's a safe area, because we don't want to get customers walking into that area and while they got a lot of heavy machines trying to move that material to and from that work site. So we're going to try to defer our customers not to be using that area for those particular days.
Thank you. Another question, at the end of these renovations, will there be a fare increase? Rhonda, I'm going to put you on the spot for that one.
No, the fare increase is not directly related to these renovations, and there, as of right now, no intended fare increase or no discussion about a fare increase for MARTA.
Thank you. Another question, what if there are delays due to bad weather? Robert or Kelly? Robert?
You know, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked. Our construction team that's led by Everett McCallum and also Kevin Kelly has worked, and myself and Kelly has worked hand in hand with the planning operations with the contractor. And that was one of the main questions that we asked him. If there's a weather delay, what will stop you guys or slow you down? The only thing weather related that will stop them from working and completing this diamond crossover replacement within the 5 days is an ice storm that Atlanta has suffered over the last few years, or tornado come through where we have to pull them off the track or something like that, or heavy snowstorm. Those are only things that will stop them from completing this in a timely manner. So we have looked at that. We have tried to mitigate it. Light rain won't stop them, or a little dusting won't stop them. And also, we've also looked at the almanac, and the weather prediction for the almanac indicates that February is going to be above average temperature. So we should be okay in reference to the temperature in February. So thank you for that question.
Great. And I also want to let our viewing audience know that we chose February because that's typically our low ridership time period. So we chose February to have as minimal impacts as possible. And with our COVID situation and ridership being down, we hope that with the traditional lower ridership in February on top of COVID, that we have as minimal impacts as possible. Okay, next question. Hold on. When will we see rail schedules for the shutdown? Rhonda, do you have any information on that?
I do not, and I'm going to ask Robert to speak to, I don't know about the actual schedules, but I know we have the headways that are available for each line already. And maybe Robert or Kelly can speak to that, because I don't remember that right offhand.
Kelly, would you like to take it, or you want me to take it? I can take it. Okay, well, let's see. We do have schedules posted for this particular outage. The red line on the weekends, weekdays, they'll be running a 12-minute schedule north and south on the red line from North Springs down to Buckhead. On the gold line, the same type of schedule, 12-minute schedule. On the trunk line or the main line operating from Lindbergh down to the airport, there's going to be a couple of different schedules there. In the hours of, I believe it's from 6 a.m. up until, no, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They will operate on a 7.5-minute schedule. From 4 a.m. in the morning until 7 a.m., they'll run on a 10-minute schedule. And then from 7 p.m. at night until 4 a.m., I'm sorry, to 2 a.m., they will run on a 10-minute schedule. So they were going to have two schedules there on the main line. On the weekends, they would operate on a 10-minute schedule on the main line from Lindbergh down to the airport.
To me, that would be great. Okay, Robert, thank you for giving us that information. Do we know when those schedules will be public?
They'll be posted to the MARTA website next week, but the headways are posted now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, how does the process work for riders who normally board the train at Buckhead going south? Will the bus swipe a MARTA card like the station? I think Mr. Osorio addressed that. If you could just restate that, Mr. Osorio, that would be great.
The question is how will it work if you board at what station? I'm sorry.
Buckhead
Buckhead.
going south.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Ron.
they will get. So they will get on the turn. Yeah, we'll get on the shuttle bus free. We'll take you to Limber. Then you get off, and then as a beginning customer, you will be required to tap your fare because that's your beginning point. Unless you have pay your transaction before arriving at Buckhead. But if you're starting your transaction at Buckhead, you will get on the shuttle bus for free, and the Limber it will be the point of a transaction for the fare.
Okay, thank you so much. And now I'm getting some questions from YouTube. Thank you, team. How many miles of track have been replaced/repaired for TR1 through 4 so far? And how many more phases are expected?
Good question. I don't have the background on how many miles of track have been replaced in the first iterations of the track replacement program. I do have the information on the current project.
Okay, and do we have a guesstimate of how many more phases, or we just in phase 4 and that's what we know?
The phase 5 or the Brookhaven is under design now.
Okay. All right.
And Erica, I guess I can add just a little bit in that the phases 1, 2, 3 were, over a course of several years. So there were perhaps parts of the system that was renovated or replaced during those. And this, I believe, is one of the first that's comprehensive, and that includes some of the newer parts of the line, just as the lines on the north end of the station. So, TR1, I'm not going to give a date, but it could have been as far back as 20 years ago.
Okay. And Rhonda, while you're talking,
yes,
we have a question about MARTA Connect, our Uber partnership. Is it $10 per ride, so $20 in a day, or $10 for both trips?
It is $10 max per ride. So you will be able, if you did a round trip, it would be a maximum of $20 per day.
Thank you. And how are we keeping socially distant in the shuttle buses? Is there going to be a limit of people inside the buses, and are drivers enforcing mask usage? Mr. Osorio.
So MARTA's policy now, it is a requirement for every customer to wear a mask. However, the shuttle service will be more of a controlled environment where there will be supervisors and police officers at every point. Customers will board the buses, and the buses now, as it stands, we do have a policy of social distancing, and our vehicles are basically marked. We do not sit at this location, so customers don't have someone sitting next to it. That is still enforced today, and that is how we operating our services on the daily operations. So yes, there will be social distancing enforced. Vehicles have a capacity, and that capacity would not be they would not be going over that capacity.
Okay, thank you so much. Rhonda, we're going back to the MARTA Connect question. Is the MARTA Connect voucher on It's MARTA now, and where do we find the voucher?
It is not there now. It will be available 1 week before we start the program or start the work. And it will be on itsmarta.com in the service update section, but you click on the link there and there will be an entire page that will explain how to download the link, how to use the service, and any other questions that our customers may have about using that service.
Okay, I have a question about our rail car procurement. If you could email those questions, since it's not related to this project. If you have questions not related to this project, please email those questions to publichearinginfo@itsmarta.com, or send John or myself, just shoot us an email and we can answer the non-project related questions. And team, am I getting any more questions? I don't see any more that are project related. Okay. Let me just look, hold on. I think that is it, unless I get some more questions. Can I get a, we're good or amen from my team?
Yeah, Erica, it looks like we've answered all the questions from YouTube and the Q&A section on the Zoom platform.
Okay, thank you all for joining us this evening. Like I said, this is a very important project. It's part of our MARTA 2040 program that we're implementing to enhance and improve your experience and to keep everyone safe. It's a very important project. Once again, we will be doing this presentation again on Saturday. If you know people that need to join, have them join us. If you have additional questions and comments, please email us at publichearinginfo@itsmarta.com. Thank you.